The Chiefs have just come out on the ice for a warm-up period. They're about to try for their 5th consecutive win. They're getting a good round of applause from their own booster club, who have traveled all the way from Charlestown to be here in Peterborough tonight.
Need more energy throughout the day? Looking for a kick to your workout? RockinThatIDLife.com has you covered with delicious flavors you've grown to love in tropical fruit and mixed berry, but now fall in love with the new fruit punch and orange flavors. Try them all at RockinThatIDLife.com.
Realtor Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage LLC makes the moving process easier. Work with a realtor who plays and studies the game and will work as hard as the boys on the ice to get you the best deal. Check out Mike on the web at strikewithmike.com and jumpstart your move today. That's strikewithmike.com.
Welcome to episode 4 of season 12. This is episode number 413 all time of the often imitated, never duplicated. Istanbul was Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople. Now it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night. We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. Let's Go Blues Radio. Special thanks to our sponsors, RockinThatIDLife.com, StrikeWithMike.com, and CenterIceBrewery.com for proudly sponsoring the show. Please check them out. Also, don't forget to check out our t-shirt shop at letsgoblues.com for some well-designed and fairly priced blues-themed t-shirts. It is Wednesday, May 17th. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And no, we are not talking about Blues playoffs in May, folks, because they're terrible. But we'll get to some NHL playoffs here in a little bit. To interact with the show on social media, our handle on all social channels is LGB Radio. Just search for us and you'll find us. And if you haven't done so, please like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, buy a t-shirt from our shop, put some documentation in your next handwritten letter to your parents, or do whatever you can do to help us out. I'm your host, Jeff Ponder, and I'm joined by the sultry Kurt Price and everyone's favorite butt sniffer, producer Austin.
Wow.
I don't know where that one came from.
It's funny because it's true.
Bill Day is on assignment. The agenda for tonight's show includes discussion about the first 3 members of the Let's Go Blues Radio St. Louis Blues all-time team voted on by you, the listeners of this here program. All that and more on this barely intelligible episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. And yes, we are live, folks. I'm joined again by Kurt and Austin. Nice to see your beautiful smiling faces, even though Austin's a butt sniffer.
It's good to be back. I thought you would slip in a little of the, what is it, the simple human video, the guy who takes his shirt off and jumps on shit and hurts himself. You seen that guy?
Yeah, it's me. I do that.
Welcome all the juggalos and juggalettes. Don't try this at home.
Austin, why don't you stand up there and show us what you're wearing?
My Jaden Schwartz Kraken jersey.
Now that's the Seattle Kraken, right? That's the team.
Nah, the Quebec Kraken.
I'm just
Quebec,
learning.
No, it's the Quebec Coyotes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, according to Patrick Mahomes, it's the KC Coyotes.
Hey, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. You saw
Buy
that
the team,
tweet, right?
Buy the team and bring it over.
He'll make it
why
happen.
not?
He's got money.
Buy the
He
team.
does. Maybe his brother will buy him.
Nah, he's in jail.
Good.
Yeah,
where he belongs.
He diddled or something.
He did some things.
He
or
did
something.
some stuff.
Yeah. The Schwartz jersey. There was a conversation I had on Twitter just today, I think yesterday. Somebody said that they couldn't believe that we gave up Jaden Schwartz for Saad. And not that it really was, it wasn't a trade like that. But I looked it up, and Schwartz since the trade and Saad since being acquired by the Blues have the exact same points per game, 0.58 per game. And Saad is like 30 points better and plus minus. And he's been healthier. So
right. And I'll add, and yes, and that's again, I know that I've said before, I'm not the biggest Jaden Schwartz fan.
You hate Jaden Schwartz.
Sure, why not? But I feel like Brandon Saad fits this team better, even though I know they're not a playoff team, and Jaden Schwartz just had a nice little run with the Kraken. But I just feel like Saad is a better fit on this roster, especially under a Berube coach team.
Saad is also $1 million a year cheaper for the same production.
And hey, that $1 million saved the Blues money to spend a lot of money on defense, which was great this year.
Great call.
Woo!
Great
Yeah, let's
call.
revisit that
Oh.
year-long discussion we had.
Yeah, why not? Hey,
every
that's
week,
what's
man.
that's what's been missing from the summer shows is us bitching about the defense. That's what everyone's been telling me.
Let's talk
Man,
Parayko for the next
You
hour.
know, it was interesting. It was bad from so many different angles that every week we were able to talk about how bad they were in a different way.
That's true. That's true.
It was
It's
always
actually
new
quite-
information.
It's quite impressive, actually. So official beers of tonight's show. I don't know if you guys have any, but I do. I've got out of my Kurt. Does this look familiar? This little Kurt. This margarita glass from the Cardinals game.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yours are in my car. So
Oh, yeah.
next time I see you,
Right. Yeah.
we got 4 of them, and that was when I got harassed by the cops. But that's a whole other story.
Right. There's fucking cops. Yeah. Yeah. There's always a bad cop or two in what do you call it? A division, a precinct, whatever. So
Yeah.
Why not? I'll tell the story very quickly. So what happened was we were leaving the Cardinals game, me, Kurt, my wife Jessica, and Amy, more that girl. They're in the YouTube chat.
headed
right now.
downtown to the Gallery Mall.
Yeah, we were
With me, my
we
mom,
were leaving
my
we were
pop.
leaving the Cardinals, which shocker, I know they lost the game. And so we're heading down to the Midwesterner. Is that the name of it? The Midwesterner?
I believe so. It's where the old flying saucer.
Flying
used to be, right?
saucer. Yeah. Yep. So we had 4 margarita glasses. We'd all gotten margaritas. It was on Cinco de Mayo. And so I was like, hey, guys, why don't you go ahead and go down there? I'm going to drop these off at the car. That way we're not carrying them around all night. We parked in Ballpark Village. So I walk over and drop them off in my car. And I hear a guy behind me, not wearing a uniform, just looks like a normal dude. What you put in your car there? And I'm like, hey, man, just some glasses from the Cardinal game. I'm wearing my Cardinals jersey. I'm wearing, I think, jeans. I don't know, whatever. And he's like, oh, that it? I'm like, yeah. Why do you care? And then he flashes his badge at me, and I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, yeah, but I got nothing to hide, man. Like, it's just putting some stuff away in the car, no big deal.
Should have flashed him your ID.
He's like, yeah.
So what?
What I really want to do is pull a Jingle All the Way sometime and have one of those fake little kid cop badges
Like
and
little
try and
stickers?
flash it at someone sometime and see if it works.
Did you get that out of a box of Cracker Jack?
So I just tell him, I'm like, man, he's like, what are you doing down here tonight? I'm like, well, my wife and a couple friends went over to the Midwesterner. I'm leaving the game.
You don't have to talk to cops, Jeff.
I know, but I just figured I'll just answer his fucking question and I'll
Yeah.
be able to just go about my merry night. And that's
luck.
not how it was.
This is a
asking
great
me.
example of why you just ignore cops.
Yeah,
Just don't talk to
That's
them.
true.
They'll do
Oh.
shit like this.
Yeah, but if you ignore cops with their sirens on behind you,
Well, if you haven't
That's a
done
good
anything
point.
wrong, you don't have to answer a damn question.
Well, if you
I'll
ignore
remember
a
that.
cop with his siren on, I believe that is
I'll
doing
remember
something
that.
wrong.
Kurt, next time if
No.
I get pulled over and they're like, "Why didn't you stop back there?" I'll be
You don't
like,
have to-
Kurt Price from Let's Go Blues Radio told me not to talk to cops.
you don't have to talk to cops. You don't have to say a damn thing. There's no law that you have to
say-
talk to them.
If they pull you over, you
No.
have to answer their questions,
don't.
right?
No,
No.
you don't have to say I don't talk to cops.
You have to do what they say. Well, I mean, yeah, if you don't,
No, if they have probable cause, to pull you over, like you committed a crime, then yes, there are certain things you have to do. But if you haven't done anything wrong and they can't tell you what you did wrong, then you don't have to answer a question.
Welcome
Now,
back to
granted,
Let's
if they're
Go
pulling you
Blues
over,
Radio,
if they're
Law
pulling you
and
over,
Order.
if they're pulling you over, they probably have you may have
Probable
done
cause,
something.
right?
Yeah. Right, usually,
Yeah.
but sometimes they don't.
Okay. In the moment, I just wanted to be fucking done with the conversation and go about my night. And so he's just like, he keeps asking me stuff like, well, so what else is in the car? He's like, would you mind if I searched it? I'm like, no, dude, I got nothing to hide. I don't care. If you want to search my car and take up your time, go ahead. And he just kind of gave me a dirty look and he just goes, all right, you be safe, and walked away. And I'm
What a
like,
dick. What a
what
dick.
the fuck was the point of that, man? Come on.
You know what? I mean, yeah, okay, he left you alone eventually, but if and I said this, I think too at the time, I was like, if a cop comes in and say, "Can I search your car?" and I'd be like, "What for? What's your reason? You have no reason to search my car. No, you can't search my car." I'm not saying that a cop would plant something in your car, but he could. You know, if he's
Right.
being a dick, you know, I'm like, no, you can't search my car.
Well, and I was being cooperative. I wasn't being
I
an
know.
asshole.
I know. He
Towards
was.
the end,
Yeah.
I was getting a little frustrated, and I think that's what he wanted. But it's like, dude, come on, you're just pissing me off on purpose at this point. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think anyway, like I said, I would have like been asking. I wouldn't have answered any questions. I would have just said, "Why are you harassing me? What I do wrong?"
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what that was. You know, nothing. Just nothing. Okay, then nothing. Leave me alone. See you later.
You just fit the profile, sir. What?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
All right. So my beer of the episode, 312 Tangerine Lemonade Shandy from Good Goose Island Brewery. One of my favorite summer beers to drink. And I'll add, Austin was giving me shit because my backup beer. Oh yeah,
Pat, why would you be giving him shit for PBR? That's a
It's the
classic.
most
I love
South County
PBR.
shit I have ever seen.
Oh, PBR is the best of the cheap beer.
Oh no, Stag. I'm a Stag guy.
Stag's good.
Stag. I've always said my Stag is my favorite of the cheap beers. So
I don't
Stag's
know.
good. I'll
Yeah.
give you that. I'm not going to argue with you. because I think you're
especially
both
since
good.
they went back to the old style can. Thank God.
Mhm.
That new wave can was shit.
So, Kurt, you drinking a Stag tonight? What you got?
No, I got some upstairs though. No, I just got my Jimmy John's, my Freaky Fast Jimmy John's, half cut tea.
Great.
I don't have a beer tonight. Like I said, I wasn't feeling the best this week and a half, 2 weeks. So I have no beer tonight for me.
Oh well. Austin, you got anything in your hand tonight?
Nothing. Nada.
Oh well.
Man.
Let me pass you a beer.
Mm.
Man, if you had one of these and you were able to just like pick it up and act like you were taking mine, that would have been the
Yeah, let me
coolest
grab
thing
the one
ever.
from behind my camera that I planted. Can we
I do-
please
All
do
right.
that one night?
The beer
One
of the
night
summer
we will.
We
the
will.
beer of the summer for me though is going to be, I think, what is this? Made by the Excel Brewing Company, the Brewski.
Oh
It's
yeah.
made with a ski soda.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It's
it's like a
good stuff.
shandy. It's like a shandy, but it's my favorite shandy like beer. I'm gonna stock up this summer. That's the goal.
Yeah, do that. All right. So Ken Morris says St. Louis PD were profiling for Radko Gudis lookalikes, and Jeff fit the description. I'll take it. Yeah, they were mad at me for yelling in Justin Wool's face, who's a St. Louis goalie. So there you go.
Well,
From Dardine Prairie.
if you had that Radko Gudis look going, then I kind of understand. Well, this guy looks like a guy you do not want to meet in the back alley.
Right. Yeah, at
So-
the time, I believe I was clean shaven, so that wouldn't have fit the description.
Yeah,
They were
Yeah.
looking for Magnus Payarvi, maybe.
maybe. Or I can never think of the guy's name, the actor that I always say.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. Yeah,
Yeah. Peter Dinklage, man, he grew a couple feet.
he did. You should have said, "Well, I'm Peter Dinklage." Which one? Do you know who I am? I am Peter Dinklage.
I'm a lot taller than I look on camera.
Right. The camera
No, you're
adds
not.
6
You're
inches.
you're like 5 foot. No, you're like 4'2".
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
All
Where I
right.
was going with that.
NHL playoffs, guys. Third
Yeah.
round starts Thursday night. So we saw a couple different things there in the second round. We don't need to go over this in full detail, but what are you guys watching? What was the series that you enjoyed the most?
Man, I have enjoyed watching Florida. The Florida Boston first round was amazing. I mean, Game 7 overtime goal. Holy hell! And when they scored, I couldn't believe that Boston. I mean, me along with the rest of the hockey world outside of Boston, right, was rooting for Boston to lose. And
Oh, yeah.
And when it happened, I was like, I just laughed.
I did
I was
too.
like, it happened. I was so happy. Yeah, because
Was that not the best night too? Because it was Boston, then Colorado lost.
then Colorado, and then and I was like, anybody but Boston. I'd even rather have Colorado win than Boston. But I said those are the two teams I want out the most, and boom, they're both out in the first round. It's like, oh God, that was so great.
Yeah, the only team that's left that I want to see lose is Vegas.
Yeah, me too. I was
They're
really
the
wanting
only
Edmonton.
ones. Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
pulling so hard for Edmonton to force a Game 7, and they just the same old story with them with the goaltending issues and just not a complete effort in the playoffs to go deep. So
Stuart Skinner, man, he looked pretty good throughout the year and was awful in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They got to figure that out. Good Lord.
I know you were pulling for Dallas, which
Mm-hmm.
still boggles my mind. But I was I was pulling for Seattle. Well, partially because I personally don't like Dallas, but also because of the draft pick situation. The Blues get a high draft pick with Dallas. The sooner Dallas gets booted, the better draft pick we get. So.
Yeah, and the way that I look at it, and I agree with you, but at the same time, we're talking if they lose this round, a difference of maybe 2 picks.
Well, it was going to be 23 to 25. Now it might be 29, something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be, let's see, there's 4 teams left, so it'd be 29 to 32.
29-32.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that they lost last round. It could have been, well, I don't care. To me, it was a combination. It was, I don't like Dallas, and it was the draft pick thing. So, no brainer for me, personally, for Seattle. And Seattle, man, what a fun run for Seattle, too. I mean,
yeah, that was great.
Dallas, 7 games.
Dude, and they've got a buttload of salary room going into next year. Like, they can completely restructure that roster if they want. I mean, they probably won't, which I wouldn't if I were them. But it's like, man, they have set themselves up very nicely for the future.
Of the 4 teams left, Dallas, Vegas, Florida, Carolina, who's your favorite to go?
You go first, Austin. What are you thinking?
I'd like to see Carolina.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go probably Vegas.
You want to see Vegas?
I want Vegas.
You want Vegas?
Okay.
I want
Interesting.
Vegas.
Wow, I did not know that.
I want Barbashev to get another ring.
Yeah, it would be cool. And I still like Petro. I'm still a fan, and Barbashev. But man, their fans already drive me fucking crazy.
Yeah.
In this shit like last year, I know we talked about it on the show when the season ended, and they were like, another disappointing season for the Vegas Golden Knights. Fuck you.
Such a tumultuous history they've had.
God.
Their fans are so tortured.
Yeah, there was an article. It was in the main Vegas paper. That was the name of the article. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And like I looked at the comments in it, and people were on there like, yeah, what are they doing? They need to figure this out. We've been nothing but loyal. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
Shut the fuck up.
18?
Yeah. 2018 was their first. 2017, 2018 was their first season. So yeah, shut up. Good Lord. For me, I don't know. I'm rooting Eastern Conference. I'm rooting for Dallas to beat Vegas, and then Dallas to lose in the Cup final. That's what I'm wanting. Just because I don't want to see Vegas even get close. But I don't know. Florida, Carolina, I can't decide which one I like better. Probably going to be rooting Florida, I guess, just because, Carolina has Paul Stastny. I was going to say St. Louis boy Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like Paul Stastny. I like Carolina in general, too. You know what? I'm just rooting Eastern Conference. I just hope everyone has fun.
I just hope both teams win.
Can they just tie the series?
There you go.
I'm Eastern Conference or bust for me. But if I'm picking one team, it's Florida. I like Matthew Tkachuk. I know a lot of people hate him just because of the style he plays, which I understand. But I would have loved for him to have come to the Blues. That I would have. He's where I've tweeted this a number of times during the playoffs. He's worth every penny. He's a complete difference maker on the ice. He's a playoff performer. He's a big game player. He costs a lot of money, but man, he's just good. He's just a good player to have on the team.
I mean, we've seen it before with other players. I think of the Howes, Gordy, and Mark Howe. But like, is there a player that's more a just exact replica of his dad than Matthew Tkachuk,
Yeah.
the way he plays. When Keith was in his prime playing for like Phoenix and even his first couple years in St. Louis, like,
Yeah.
I mean, my God, he plays the exact same game as him.
He plays that same style, but he's better. He's better than
Keith
his
had
dad.
some hands on him when he was young too.
I'm not
though.
saying he didn't. I'm just saying Matthew is better. I think he's just he does some eye-popping stuff with the puck sometimes. You know, it's his between the legs shit that he pulls off in goofy situations, and he doesn't just do it and you know and come up short. He fucking buries a number of those chances. So and it's I don't know. He's always around the front of the net like his dad was. You know, same kind of style like you said, Jeff. But I think talent level, I think the ceiling's higher for him. But then again, we don't. Yeah, I mean, his dad scored a bunch of goals in the league. I don't know if Matthew will get that.
And
number,
I know that
different era.
Yeah, the era is different.
Yep.
I don't think Keith ever had a 100-point season. I think the most
True.
he ever had was maybe 85.
Yep.
And Matthew's already had a 100-point season. So clearly the points are there. And yeah, I do agree. I think overall he is better. But man, you watch those two play side by side, it'd be hard to tell which one's which.
Keith had a 98-point season in the 95-96 season.
That's right. That was the first year I think Roenick was there in Phoenix. So
that was his highest.
Yeah.
His highest scoring.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go. Well, anyway, so playoffs have been exciting. You guys, did we go through all of our picks? Kurt, you say who you wanted? You said you wanted Florida?
I'd like to see Florida win. I do not want either of the Western Conference teams to win. I'm Eastern Conference of bust, and I'll pick Florida. Not that I say they're going to win. I'd like to see them win. You know, it's not a prediction. I just want to see them win.
Yeah.
I want the Maple Leafs, actually.
You go back a couple rounds.
Yeah. Yep. Man, I'll admit, and I know I feel bad because I like the Maple Leafs as a team. I like a lot of their players. Obviously, I love Ryan O'Reilly. But, man, when they made it and they were saying, "We want Florida," they were doing that chant. And I was sitting there thinking, I even said out loud to my wife, I'm like, watch, Florida's going to win and then sweep them. And I was hoping, again, nothing against Toronto, but it's just against their fans. I was like, man, if Florida, when they were up 3-0, I'm like, yes. The fact that, you made it to the second round, but you didn't win any goddamn games. Oh, that would have been so fucking awesome.
Because you could have had the caveat, haven't won a second round game in 20 years, kind of a thing. But they did win. They did win the one.
Yep, they got the one.
And there were a couple of overtime. There were a couple overtime games too. That series was a little closer than the 4-1.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Yeah, but when was the last time they made it to the third round?
Oh God,
that was 67, was it not? No.
Third round? Oh boy, that's a great question. I don't know. Austin, you're the producer. You look it up.
Oh, not
actually. We're getting ready to go to commercial, Austin. So don't do that. Anyway, all right, guys. I think it is time for that commercial break. So we'll reveal the first position for the St. Louis Blues all-time team. Oh, what is this? Evander Kane's cross-check to Petra's neck warranted a suspension. Yeah, that's from Ken Morris, member of our panel. I agree with you.
I'm surprised there wasn't more made of that from the league, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought that was
I think he deserved a suspension. Petro deserved his.
Yeah. The only difference between the two was that, Petro had the puck when Kane came at him, and Draisaitl did not. So
that's right, Austin. They made it in 1994. They played the Vancouver Canucks in the Western. Well, were they the West at that point, or was that still the shit? I can't remember.
Oh,
what's the name of the conference?
94, they were in the Campbell.
So it would have been the Campbell. Yeah.
This says actually they made it in 2002.
Is that right?
Carolina.
Oh, that's right. They did. Yeah, the year Carolina went to the Cup final against Detroit. That's right. That's a good call. Okay, so 2002. There you go.
I lied.
Look at that on the fly. Hey, you corrected yourself. You're good.
There you go.
But still, you're fired.
That's cool. I'm not getting paid anyway, so.
That's true. All right, we will reveal the first position for the St. Louis Blues all-time team on the other side of this break from our amazing sponsors. You're listening to Jeff, Kurt, and producer Austin on Let's Go Blues Radio.
We'll return after these messages.
Every beer league hockey night, I grab my hockey bag and sticks and throw them in the trunk of my car. And the very next thing I do, I mix up a boost of energy courtesy of RockinThatIDLife.com. It's formulated to break up its delivery in 3 ways, which helps me get through all 3 periods of hockey. Phase 1 provides a rapid onset of energy, concentration, alertness, and motivation. By period 2, I'm receiving a dose of sustained energy, increased focus, metabolism, cognitive function, performance, and feelings of well-being, which I need with the way I play. In Phase 3, I'm getting fatigue protection without jitters and crash, an elevated mood, and a reduction of fluid retention to help me make the big play when it counts. This same triphasic approach helps me when I drink it during work hours or simply just for a pick-me-up when I need it. Try one of the 4 energy flavors by visiting RockinThatIDLife.com, but make sure to email Dustin at RockinThatIDLife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you to receive an additional 10% off your order. That's RockinThatIDLife.com.
Center Ice Brewery is a beer lover's dream for hockey fans. Based in St. Louis, Missouri, owner Steve Albers has been brewing hockey-themed favorites for thirsty sports fans since 2017. From the Beauty IPA to the Old Arena Lager, a cold, frosty, hockey-themed beer is just what the doctor ordered for hockey fans in St. Louis. Make sure to check your local beer store for Center Ice Brewery beer today. LGB. Let's go beer.
During the magical 2019 playoff run, I was in the midst of buying my current home. Every time I spoke with my realtor, obviously, home buying was the discussion. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't stop thinking about what was destined to happen for our St. Louis hockey team. If only there were a realtor who could have walked me through the process, held my hand when needed, but was there to be a sounding board when I wanted to complain about a certain hand pass goal. Let realtor Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage be that for you. He'll have your needs top of mind as he skates you through the home buying or selling process, dangling you past any obstacles and assisting on all your home goals. Check out strikewithmike.com for more information or give him a call directly at 314-753-4060. That's Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage at strikewithmike.com, and that number again is 314-753-4060. Don't forget to tell Mike that Let's Go Blues Radio sent you.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
So before we get into the all-time team reveal, we did kind of gloss over the Vegas Golden Knights series with the Edmonton Oilers. What were your guys' thoughts on Petrangelo's suspension that he had on his slash on Leon Draisaitl?
Not long enough.
Agree.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to get like one game. If I was going to predict what it's always never enough. It's always never enough.
That's true.
He should have got 2 or 3 games out of that. He should have been done for the series. I don't know what else you have to do to get more than a game. I mean, his history was the only thing that it was going for him. In this, he slashed him right across the forearms. Puck was nowhere near him. He made a beeline right for him. I don't understand the one game.
That's an intent to injure.
Yeah.
And intent to injure warrants more than that. And I'll add the caveat. I hate the whole playoff games way more than regular season. To me, you do something illegal. I don't care if it's preseason, regular season, playoffs. It should be the same suspension. That's not the argument here. The argument to me is, because people said, well, in the regular season, he would have gotten more, but in the playoffs, he gets less. And I'm like, okay, I still would have given him more.
Yeah.
Because if that's how they really do rate it, I would have given him 10, 12 games in the regular season.
They always say the playoffs, it's half. Traditionally, it's been about half of what you would get during the regular season.
Right.
And I would give him at least 6 games for that during the season. And so that's
100%.
If you convert that over, math's pretty simple. That's 3 games.
2 games?
Where'd you go to high school?
Right. Oakville.
Sounds like a wind tunnel.
Yeah, what is going on there?
Hold on, I'll fix it.
Okay.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Wind
I-
tunnel, apparently.
Sorry,
I
I
actually
had my fan on full blast. Sorry.
I forgot about. Yeah, you're probably hot now. You're wearing a Titans jersey. What you doing? Wardrobe changes now?
I'm going out after the show. So
It's
yeah.
like I'm watching a Weird Al concert.
Yeah. Good Lord, man. Now I feel like I need to do wardrobe changes after break.
Let's do it. That's the new thing.
Yeah. All right, guys, here we go. We are. This is why we're here. This has been the summer series. It's been a lot of work to get to this point, and there's still more work to be done on my end. So I do want to thank our panel before we get into this. Again, 11 people on the panel, including the 3 people you're looking at or listening to right now. Yeah, it's been a lot of work to get to this point, and I want to thank everybody who has participated, been a part of the show, and helped us out with this, as well as the people who have voted on the Facebook and the Twitter poll. But okay, let me rephrase the Twitter poll. And remember that because we're still ongoing, we've got the defense figured out at this point. We're still working on left wing, center, right wing, goalie, and coach. So we are going to have polls going. So again, make sure that you're commenting on these polls, why you vote the way you are. And if you're on Facebook, because if you're just on Facebook and not on Twitter, but you still want to comment why you voted the way you did. No, Austin, it does not sound that way.
All right, cool.
But you still want to comment the way you did, why you did. I will include those Facebook comments as responses to the poll, which would include you for the giveaways. So we've got a couple giveaways that we're going to start doing here, probably actually next week. So again, comment on those polls, folks. Tell us why you voted the way you did. No, you two are not eligible. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I know.
Now, why the hell am I doing this?
Hold on. I'll see you later.
Hang on. Hey, get back here. Get back here. Show's not
quit.
over.
Nah, we quit.
Speaking of which, I have one of them right here. So hang on.
You brought the winner into your house?
Since we're talking about defense, the prize will be given away next week. Right here. That is a signed Colton Parayko puck.
Wow.
I was about to make a Colton Parayko joke.
Well, there you go.
Is that one of the ones? Is that one of the ones he's flipped over the glass for a delay game penalty?
Yeah, yep. This was the one from Game 7 against the Bruins. But no, we'll actually have. I think we're gonna have Steven Ground on next week, and he has some thoughts on Colton Parayko. So it's actually kind of funny we're giving this away when he'll be not talking too greatly about Colton Parayko. But that is next week. This week we're doing
we ever
left.
talk greatly
deep.
about Colton Parayko?
Always, all the time. We love our defense. Remember?
Yeah. Sorry. My bad. Stupid producer.
Yes, right. So we are doing left defense. Now, we need to take into consideration the 35th anniversary team, which is actually right behind my shoulder there, the poster they gave away for that. The team that they had included for that, the 3 left D, Chris Pronger, Barclay Plager, and Bob Gassoff. So now the question is, did those 3 players remain, or did we switch them out? We'll see. This is all judging by our panel and then by your votes. So the first defenseman, the first player named to the Let's Go Blues Radio St. Louis Blues all-time team. That's a mouthful. Chris Pronger, folks. How about that?
Nice.
There's going to be, let's just face it, there's going to be some no-brainers here, okay? This is, to me, the number one no-brainer, right? I mean, I can go ahead and say this, right? Brett Hall is going to be on the team. Bernie Fedorko is going to be on the team. You know, there's going to be guys like that. This one, to me, Chris Pronger, number one no-brainer. He is your first selection on the all-time team. So let's go over some accolades real quick, and then we'll talk about this pick. 5, this is in his career, 5 All-Star games, 99, 2000 Hart and Norris Trophy winner, listed to the NHL's 100 greatest players in 2017, 2018, did win a Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks in 2007. As far as his Blues accolades go, he is number 10 all-time in assists with 272, Number 1 in plus minus with a ridiculous 140. Number 6 in penalty minutes with 931. Got to figure if he played one more season, he would have eclipsed the 1,000 mark. Number 16 in games played with 598. He was the Blues captain from 1997, 1998 to 2001, 2002, to which he handed over to Al McInnes at that point. Blues career, 598 games played, 84 goals, 272 assists for 356 points. My favorite player of all time. He is hanging. I always do this wrong. He's hanging right there behind me. Again, makes sense. He's the number 1 pick. Guys, your thoughts on Chris Pronger being the first selection to the all-time team?
Arguably the greatest Blues player of all time. Arguably. We can have that debate up and down the street, but
that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, you toss Hull in there, you toss Verco in there. You can toss McInnes in there, I guess, but yeah, for my money, Chris Pronger is right up there. No brainer for me. I mean, my gosh. And
yeah, I mean,
almost underrated. As a Blues player, I'd say. I mean, people know that he's a great player for the Blues, but I don't think that they put him up there in the top 2 or 3, like they probably should. I think by default is Brett Hull, which is fine. It's arguably he's the argument, or they'll do McInnes, or they'll do Fedorko, right? But I think Chris Pronger he's a guy that's left out of the top 3 a lot, I think. And he probably should always be in everyone's top 3.
I agree with that. Yeah, I again, my favorite player of all time, someone I've talked about on this show a million times. We had the retire 44 conversation before they did it. Like, hey, why is this guy's number not retired? I'm with you, man. Greatest Blue of all time. Austin, you probably never actually saw him play as a Blue, did you?
Nope.
Did you see him play when he was playing in the NHL?
I've only seen clips.
Wow. Okay. So what are your thoughts as somebody who actually never saw him play, just what you've heard and what you've seen on YouTube?
He's a great guy.
I mean,
I've met him. I mean, that I can say.
I can tell you, Austin, that
he's tall as shit.
He's one of those guys that he's one of those guys that when he was on the ice, you knew it because he controlled the play. Everything went through Pronger. He controlled the play, and if he wasn't in the middle of the play, it was because the other team was trying to stay away from him.
And that's the thing. So whenever we heard about, and it's a ridiculous comparison, I know, but when we heard that Nick Leddy was coming to the Blues, what we heard was, well, the other team's going to enter with the puck. Leddy's going to leave the zone with it. And if that was the case, the first, part of the year he was here when he first came to the Blues, but with Chris Pronger, it was literally that times 100. I mean, it was, they entered the zone. Chris Pronger would always end up with the puck. And yes, Kurt, that's the thing I always say about Chris Pronger. Like, say what you want about Brett Hull, Bernie Fedorko, even Al McInnes. Like, they were great in their own right. Do not get me wrong. But when Pronger had the puck and he took it behind his net, yes, there was a couple times his outlet pass, his breakout pass would be intercepted. But 9 times out of 10, it was like, watch. Like, literally, kids, watch this. Something really cool is about to happen. Because
he was the best.
Always made the right play.
He was the best in the NHL at long outlet passes from end red line to center red line. Because at the time there was a 2-line pass, right? But he was
right. You
couldn't go over that. But he was, I mean, tape to tape. It was so. I mean, he triggered the offense so much coming out of his own zone. It was a joy to watch. Loved watching him play.
Yep.
And I loved his attitude. I loved the chip on the shoulder. I loved the asshole things he would do on the ice. I loved it. I mean, he was, and Edmonton fans will tell you they loved him during that cup run to the final run with him. Right. And then Anaheim loved him. He's on your team. You love him.
Yep. Yeah. And I loved, and we didn't see it until with the media stuff. We didn't see a lot of that until he left the Blues. I don't know why that was. Maybe he just got in a bigger market and just felt like he had to be that guy. But like the stealing of the puck in the
In
Cup
Philadelphia?
final against Chicago, right?
That was
Like,
great.
that was so good. And, literally just throwing it in the trash, selling it on eBay. I mean, hilarious. And one of my favorite chirps of all time was it Brian Bickle? After they won the Cup that year, he said, if I ever see that Pronger guy out, I'm going to punch him in the face. If I ever see him out, he's going to get it. And they told Chris Pronger what he said. He said, where's he going to see me? The minors? Like, fucking beautiful. Like, everything about that guy. You just, like you said, Kurt, you hate him when he's not on your team.
Sure.
But man, when he's on your team, you love him. You love everything about the guy.
He was a borderline dirty player. He did some dirty stuff. But it was a little bit different era back then. I mean, him and I don't know, I'm trying to think of a forward that had battles in front of the net.
Tomas Holmstrom.
Holmstrom. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, Holmstrom was a guy that was born to take abuse in front of the net. You could just tell by the way, he was just the looks. He was just an ugly guy. He's like, we'll just stick the ugly guy in front of the goal, and just get beat to shit by tall defensemen. No, Chris Pronger was fantastic. I wish we had another guy like him. But there's really I can't think of another defenseman that has played like Chris Pronger. I mean, not really. Since
so for me, the answer to that is Shea Weber, and that's why I was a big Shea Weber fan, was because he was a guy that he played a style similar to Pronger, but he still wasn't Pronger, and that was the crazy thing. Shea Weber in his time was one of the best defensemen in the NHL, but he still wasn't as good as Pronger, even close to as good as Chris Pronger was at what he did, and that just speaks volumes at how good that guy was at his position. All right. Well, we all knew that one, right? That was going to be Chris Pronger. We all knew it. Number 2, this is where it gets a little murky. This was okay. So it was Barclay Plager was the number 2 defenseman in the 35th anniversary team. Number 2 behind Chris Pronger on lefty now goes to Jay Bouwmeester. So this Blues defenseman, again, in his career, 2 All-Star games, and of course was a vital part to the Blues 2019 Stanley Cup Championship. Stats with the Blues, he's number 23 all-time in games played at 490. He has 490 games played, 17 goals, 107 assists, and 124 points for a plus 48. The 2019 playoffs specifically, stat line's not great, but we all know what he did, what he contributed. 26 games played, 0 goals, 7 assists, a plus 9. So I want to start actually with Austin, because this is a player that you clearly saw play a ton. I have no problem with this pick. I'll admit I didn't have him. At first, when I was going through the roster with how, and I'm sure Kurt, you and I will talk about this, I was like, he didn't have a good enough time here as a Blue. And I know fans love to remember him and say, if this defense had Jay Bouwmeester, we would have made the playoffs. He, to me, was fucking terrible. Put him down Colton Parayko worthy for a couple years there for the St. Louis Blues.
Go back and listen to our shows.
As I looked
all the time.
Yeah. As I looked at the other lefty, the contributions that guy made in one playoff year, and then honestly, when he first came here too, you know what? I turned myself around and I said, you know what? Jay Bouwmeester belongs on this list. I ended up voting for him, and glad to see him here. But Austin, your thoughts on Jay Bouwmeester being the number 2 lefty? Joe Jaymeester. Bo Jaymeester.
Bo Jaymeester.
Shit. I mean, he was I don't know what to say. Honestly, I'm trying to think. Like
you can say it closer to the microphone.
Yeah, and Kurt, you can steal it away if you want.
Yeah, Kurt. Honestly, go ahead, Kurt. I am not good with.
Well, here's the deal.
I'm not good at talking on podcasts.
I'm not.
So I'll echo a little bit what Jeff said about when he first came to St. Louis. He was very, very good. Loved what we saw out of him, and then he got hurt, and then his injury took a fucking shit ton of time to heal, and he was playing hurt for far too long, was ineffective. He was terrible. He was terrible for what? But the better part of two seasons. And people wanted to trade him, let him go. He was a whipping boy. And nobody knew who was really playing hurt. And then he got healthy. And then his play was noticeably better. And then it came out to where he was, I can still hear that wind tunnel again, Austin. You got to fix that damn thing. And then he gets better, and then we go on the cup run, and everything's glorious. And people forgot that he sucked for a couple of seasons. And not that it was his fault necessarily, because a large part of that was because he was hurt. He's playing hurt. Hopefully, the same thing is happening with Parayko. Hopefully, it comes out, oh, well, he's been playing hurt, a nagging injury for the past couple of years. That's been a part of his problem. But so we're kind of hoping that that's that, right? So, but yeah, Bouwmeester I love the guy, and he gets a lot of sentimental votes due to how he left the league, almost dying on the bench. So people have that extra sentimental attachment. Plus, he was a key cog, playing very well in the cup run. So those back-to-back seasons that happened. So that's why he's probably valued a little higher maybe than he should be with us. But with that said, I was in the Scott Stevens camp, and he only played for us for one season. So, Scott Stevens was mind-blowingly good in his very short time here. So, but
so I do want to call out here. Our friend Ken Morris jumped in on Twitter and said Barkley played. Oh my goodness, that is the wrong one.
It's
I
also
apologize.
very small. Can you see that?
I know I can't get it to show up any bigger. What is going on here? He says, I voted for J-Bo as his play on defense was one of the reasons we won the cup, and Pronger won his cup with the Ducks. So, yeah, I mean, yes, Ken's right. Pronger, and that was the unfair thing. And there's a reason I had to have the panel go through and rank the players, because it literally depended on who they matched up against in the poll. So it was like whoever had to face Pronger in the poll, that's fucking unfair. Everyone's voting for Pronger. So, but that was one that Barkley Plager was involved in. So
how much
we'll get to that. But Jay Bouwmeester was in this poll as well. I'm sorry. It was Bob Gassoff was in this poll with Bouwmeester and Pronger. And the fact that people had to vote for Bouwmeester over Pronger. And I'll tell you, on the panel, one of our panelists ranked Bouwmeester ahead of Pronger.
Wow.
And that shocked me.
That is,
and I had to ask
shocking.
This person why. And this person responded, because Chris Pronger was a penalty king and hurt the Blues a ton with his penalties, which, hey, they're not wrong. And he was that instrumental in the Blues Cup run in 2019. This person felt he deserved the vote over Pronger. And I can't agree with that, but I get the reasoning, because him and Parayko, my God, that was some of the best defense we've seen out of anyone not named Pronger or McInnes on this team.
I didn't put a ton of weight on the cup run, because winning a cup in the NHL is like the ultimate team game. You got to have a complete team. Now, there are key cogs that contribute to that, and Bouwmeester was one of them. But I mean, they don't win it without Binnington playing fantastic. They don't win it without O'Reilly being the Conn Smythe winner that he was. They don't win it without that fourth line playing out of their mind and contributing, and so that's why a lot of my rankings that I did for this didn't really have the cup is that big of a deal for voting a player as the best for the greatest all time for the Blues, because it's team game. You're not getting that one player is not going to put you over the top. or not going to win a cup by himself. It's a team game. So that's kind of like I don't blame Pronger. Pronger was more than good enough to win a cup here. Just didn't have the team as a whole when he was here. It's not his fault. That's why that's why I think I would never personally put Bouwmeester over Pronger. I think that's insane.
Well, and I'll just tell you, Kurt, that's why I wanted to have a larger panel, 11 people, because I figured we would all go at it differently. And that's what I was telling Austin before the show. That's why I wanted Austin to be a part of the panel and why I wanted Ken Morris to be a part of the panel. Ken has seen pretty much every Blues game, right? I mean, he's been around for a long time. He's old as shit. I'm just messing with you, Ken.
Just get to the point.
But Austin is a young man. He didn't start watching until a couple of years ago. So I wanted to make sure that we got all these different people from different walks of life.
Yeah.
People who've seen different Blues teams and have different opinions. And like I said, this one panelist put the Cup team as the pinnacle of Blues hockey. And
that's fine.
I don't agree with that. Well, I don't have to.
Oh, and I think that's okay. It's not how I would do it. For reasons I just stated, but I think that's, it means something different to everybody. That's why you have a number of people, like you said, Jeff, because certain people, there's no rules on why people should vote the way they do. It's their own personal, opinions on things, and that's fine. That's great. But I would
will
love.
say
I could do a whole show on the J-Bo versus Pronger thing on who ranks higher. That'd be great.
Oh, I tell you, man, I don't know if you can look you've got access to the document. When these picks were coming over at first and I was getting them and I'm looking through them, I'm like, wow. Like there's a couple picks that I'm like, oh my God. But it's like, again, that's what I wanted. I wanted the different views on who belongs on this team. It's not all this, not everybody voted for the same 4 people. So this is what I wanted. It's great.
But there's still a right and a wrong answer. Anyway.
Yeah. Yep. That's in my opinion. Yes. But yeah. No, but either way, I have no problem. And again, I was looking through this and I'll say, there are certain players on this team in this team's history that I particularly was like, I can't vote for this person. I just can't. And at first, Jay Bouwmeester was on that list. But then when I looked through and I said, I can't leave him off. Like, again, he was so instrumental. And then I know it was a short time, but his time after the Cup run, he was great. His first 2 years here, he was great. So, and maybe you could even make the case if you wanted that Blues on lefty have been pretty weak outside of a couple players, but he belongs on this team to me. And when he made it, I was not shocked.
Yeah, no, I wasn't shocked either. But
yep. So anyway, reveal number 3. So our third and last left defenseman, and I'll also add 2 folks, and I'll remind you each week of this. We are going to have utility players too. So some of the players not picked here, depending on how they do in the Twitter polls, might end up as one of the 3 alternates on this team. So they'll end up in the utility. So if your player right here that you expected to make it doesn't make it, they still got a chance of being a sitting player. So reveal number 3. This guy was on the 35th anniversary team. Was it Barclay Plager or Bob Gassoff? It was Barclay Plager. So yes, we do have a Plager on the all-time team. We'll see next week if Bob Plager makes this team as well. But Barclay, his brother, 4 All-Star games, spent his entire career with the St. Louis Blues, which I think a lot of people may not realize that. He is number 13 all-time Blues history in games played with 614. 10 years, 614 games played, 44 goals, 187 assists, 231 points. He's a plus 61. He coached the Blues from 1978 to 1983. Unfortunately, he did pass away on February 6, 1988 at 46 years old of a brain hemorrhage. Ken Morris was, and again, this is why I wanted someone like Ken and even guys like Jeremy Rutherford and a couple other guys who, Lou Korak, who are on this panel because I knew they actually did maybe see these guys play. And Barclay Plager is one of them. And I'll go ahead and get to Ken Morris's comment here. And this is in one of the Twitter polls as well. He says Barclay Plager. He's saying that's who he voted for. He represents what the Blues are all about: hard work, determination, and never quitting. The Blues have had more skilled defensemen, but very few matched his spirit and leadership. Oh, you're right, Austin. I'll remember that for next time. There's a zoom in apparently, so that can be easily read. Either way, still very awesome. Shut up, producer. But yes, again, this is a player I never saw play. Unfortunately, he passed away when I was not even 3 years old. But I will say, having a father who watched this team since 1967, all I heard about was how good the Plager brothers were, how the spirit of Barclay Plager was so important to this team for 10 years and beyond as he coached. He coached the Kansas City Scouts for a while, which was the Blues minor league team. He was all over this organization, just like Bob was, since the time he was drafted by the Blues in 67, or picked up by the Blues, I guess. So Barclay Plager. And now, Austin, I know you know nothing of Barclay Plager except for maybe what I just said. So, Kurt, I'll hand it off to you. Your thoughts on Barclay Plager being the third pick at lefty.
Well, I mean, he was before my time too, but the amount of time that I spent as a kid going through the Blues media guides, looking up old articles and things on the team, and just there's so much written about the Plager brothers and Barclay Plager and how loved he was and how much of a leader he was on the team. And I totally get it. It's hard for somebody to vote for somebody and put them in a certain rank when they haven't really seen them play. But there's not, let's be honest, there's not a ton of video floating around of him out there playing. It's not like today where you can just pull up any video of any player and watch 8 hours of footage of them on YouTube. It does not exist. So, but everything that you've read about him has been nothing but fantastic. Even other teams' coaches, you chime in and talk about Plager and how just he was a lunch pail guy, just worked his ass off on the ice. Total team leader. Team loved him. Fans loved him. So I get it. I totally do. With the
Bernie, if you guys have not read, and I'm trying to blank on what it's called, but Bernie Federko's book. If you have not read it, you absolutely need to. There's some great stuff in there about Barclay Plager when he was coaching Bernie in Kansas City. And again, and then I know Bob Plager had that great book that he co-wrote.
Tales from the Bench?
Tales from the Blues Bench. He had a lot of great stories.
Locker room.
Tales from the Bench.
No.
It's Tales from the Blues Bench.
Are
we having a Mandela effect moment
Blues
here?
Locker room. And Bernie's book is called My Blues Note.
My Blues Note. That's right.
With Bernie, with Rutherford.
Bob Plager's Tales from the Blues Bench by Bobby Plager.
Yes.
What?
That is what it is.
I'm looking at the book right here. Tales from the Blues Bench.
What are you looking at is the question.
Tales from the Blues Locker Room.
No,
by who?
Tales.
A collection of the greatest blues stories ever told by with Bob Plager, Tom Wheatley.
Bob Plager, Tom Wheatley. Bob Plager's Tales from the Blues Bench. I'm looking at it right now on Amazon.
Okay, we're looking at two different things.
Obviously.
Somebody has the title wrong online.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that.
No. They're two different books.
What? There's two different ones? That can't be right.
There's two different books. Because I was going to say, I've read the other book. I think
Tales from
I have
Blues
that book.
Locker Room, a collection of the greatest stories ever told. Bob Plager. Yeah, there is two.
Oh, now I got to buy this. Great.
I think I have it. I can just give it to you.
Okay.
Or you can
like
rent
that.
it from me. I'll give it to you like $5 a day.
Shut
go
the
with
fuck
that?
up. So,
Pay my
no,
SRH fee.
This to me was a no-brainer. I'll admit there was a short period when I was kind of like, oh man, Barclay might not make this team. When I was looking at the votes early on, and I'm like, ooh, that would be odd. And again, chance he makes utility, but I was like, there's a couple guys that are doing well in these polls. But as the week went on, these are week-long polls, he started to pull away a little bit. I was like, okay. And, granted, part of it is just recency bias. Like you said, Kurt, I mean, for me, even, I'm 38 years old. I never saw either of the Plagers play. I just know the stories. I've read the books. I, know of Bob just from his time as a scout and just as a Blues personality. So for me, it was like, but it still felt weird. Even though I never saw him play, I'm like, I can't imagine an all-time team without Barkley on it. I mean, they named the damn dog Barkley. So, to me, it's like he is Blues hockey. You can't have a team. And it'd be funny when we're doing this show in 40 years if he still makes the team. So we'll see when we have the Blues all-time team in 2064. So
Hopefully you're still kicking it.
hopefully I'm still going to look the same. I'm not going to change.
Yeah. Middle part and everything.
Ken Morris says, I have that book and it's my favorite sports books. He says it's the one from the locker room. So again, why is the title so similar? Jesus Christ.
It's like part 2.
By Plager.
That's
Tom Wheatley wrote it.
Wow.
Probably.
Damn it, Tom Wheatley, if you're listening.
With stories from
Right.
Bobby Boy.
Well, panelist rankings. So we had 6 players, all included in the polls. So obviously, number 1, Chris Pronger. Number 2, Barclay Plager. Number 3, Jay Bouwmeester. So all 3 of them made the team after Twitter polls. But then your next 3 that were close. Number 4, Scott Stevens. Number 5, Barrett Jackman. And number 6, surprisingly, just because his number's retired, Bob Gassoff. Now, I'll say, and I've said this on the show before, and I get why it happened. I think Bob Gassoff was a guy, they retired his number prematurely. It was this dude had a young, promising career. He died tragically. We should retire his number. Maybe if he spends his whole time here as a Blue, that still happens, but I think we have more to go off of and say, how good was this kid? But right now, it does kind of feel that way. So when he made the all-time team in the 35th anniversary, I think it was like, yes, he was good, but we have his number retired. He belongs here.
He was more of an enforcer type of player. So,
right.
I mean, when you say good, I'm not sure exactly, production-wise, what he was going to be doing, but he was more of an inspirational, tough guy, checker, fighter. The fans loved in his short time here. So tragically dying, and it didn't just pass away too soon. He passed away during a team event,
right?
So in the off season. So that's kind of that to me. I have 0 issues. I've said this before. 0 issues with them retiring his number when they did because of how and when it happened during a team event. I think that's something different than Oscar Taveras, for example, for the Cardinals, passing away in a car accident in his hometown in Dominican. I think that's where it was. So it's a little different, situation there.
Yeah, and Ken Morris says here that Bob Gassoff was a force and tough as nails, but he did have skill. And I've read that. He actually was good with the puck as well. He wasn't a goal scorer, but he could move the puck very well.
I know someone who doesn't score and can move the puck pretty well.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll take that as a compliment. You're right. I don't score, but I scored a hat trick last weekend. So there you go.
I had Scott Stevens ahead of Bouwmeester.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys any surprises here. So again, 1 Pronger, 2 Plager, 3 Bouwmeester, 4 Stevens, 5 Jackman, 6 Gassoff. Any surprises to either of you?
Surprises there? I'm a little surprised Jackman wasn't higher than Stevens, but I appreciate the fact that Stevens, because Stevens was a better defenseman than Bouwmeester.
Yes.
Far. He just didn't spend a lot of time here. And that's probably the only reason he didn't get as much love in the rankings. I vividly remember his time here. It was his one season here and how huge he was, how big of a presence he was on this team. The St. Patrick's Day Massacre in Chicago, my God. He was center main event there with Dave Manson. So, and that was at the height for me of these Blues and Blackhawks rivalry too. We had Stevens and they had Manson. Oh my God. it was just, I mean, it was a Donnybrook every time we played, and Stevens was our heavy hitter, and he was stolen from us.
Right.
When we signed Shanahan, so that sucked.
Mhm.
So
I've said before, can you imagine if we would have had Pronger and Stevens? If Stevens sticks around and they still go get Pronger, whoa.
Well, if the package that was offered to was it New Jersey was accepted, because we offered them Curtis Joseph and Rod Brendamore at the time and somebody else, but they wanted Stevens. So, and the judge decided that they got Stevens. So that, if it wasn't Stevens, it was going to be Joseph and Brendamore, which Brendamore wouldn't have been a huge loss because he didn't spend a ton of time here. Ended up being a great player, but not for us. But losing Joseph, that would have hurt, because I mean he was my favorite goalie at the time. So they've been it's rough. It's rough. I don't. Can you imagine that happening nowadays? If if a judge were saying, yeah, your best player and captain, well, arguably best player, gone, rigged. Yeah,
that would be rigged. Everybody rigged.
It doesn't
NHL draft lottery type shit.
That just doesn't. That kind of thing just doesn't happen anymore. And the Blues got kind of fucked in that deal. So,
ooh, Ken Morris, great question here. Stevens or Shanny? If you could keep only one, which one?
Well,
Heinz should be on the show, not me.
I mean, hindsight says.
Hindsight says we didn't win a cup with Shanny.
Pronger. Well, you didn't win one with. You wouldn't have. I mean, would you win one with Stevens?
That's the question.
Take that out of it. Look, players in their prime. Who would you rather have?
Well, the player who I'd rather have in my mind is going to be the one that try and does it win us a cup? And I'm thinking, well, gosh, which guy gives us a better chance to win a cup? I guess we didn't win one with Shanny. Who was my favorite player? Shanahan was my favorite player when he was moved. Stevens or Shanny? That is a great question. I don't think there's a wrong answer. It's kind of like It's like Pronger or Shanahan, right?
I think well, because then for me, like in my mind, I'm going through what was the need at the time. And really, at the time, the Blues did need defense. But then when Shanahan came in, he was part of the Janie Hole shit. I mean,
now if I
don't know if I can answer.
If we're keeping both players for their entire careers, give me Shanahan.
I'm probably with you.
I mean, yeah, just give me Shanahan.
I think I'm with you.
That's tough, though.
So panelist votes. We'll start with me real quick. So again, let's keep in mind too. I did ask the panelists to not include anyone from the 35th anniversary team the Blues made. So that does not include Pronger, Gassoff, and Barclay Plager. So when I asked people to send in their votes, those three players were excluded. So keep that in mind. That's very important to remember here. My three, Paul Cavallini, which he almost made it. It came down to a tiebreaker, which we'll get to in a minute. Jay Bouwmeester, and I know this one might get some laughs, Jack Brownscheitel. Stupid young Jeff. So keep in mind, I've always been that guy that likes the dudes who do the small things, kind of like the fourth line love that players get here in St. Louis, the blue-collar workers. I loved Bryce Salvador when I was younger. I loved what he did on the ice, and I was devastated when the Blues got rid of him. Scott Young, even though he ended up being a 40-goal scorer, before that, I was a huge fan of his. I loved his work ethic. I've got a Ryan Johnson jersey. I was a huge fan of his. I loved his work ethic. That's kind of where Jack Brownscheitel falls in for me. I love the way he played D. He was on a bad Blues D. I think if you have a good defense with him, I think he's probably a number 3 at the time at best. But I think where he sat in with the Blues, I liked his play. So I think I might have been the only one that voted for him. But I liked him as a Blue. And so I decided, you know what? He deserves some love here. That's my reasoning.
What year were you born?
85.
85. You were born after his time here was done.
Yeah, I know, but I've seen the videos. My dad had a bunch of
Okay.
VHS,
All right.
and I remember watching my dad showing me the games and just being like, "Oh, that guy's pretty good." And granted, I was 5 or 6 years old, but still. And then we'll go to Austin next. I think Austin's going to dip out here soon. So Austin
Yeah.
went much more recent, which again, why I had him on the panel. Jay Bomeister, Barrett Jackman, and Carl Gunnarsson, which Gunnarsson almost made the team as well. So, Austin, you're anything you want to say about your 3 picks?
I feel like for me, with everything being more recent, especially with Gunnarsson, I feel like that's got to be pretty obvious. I mean, scoring the game-winning goal to get the Blues their first Stanley Cup win. Barrett Jackman was just fun to watch in general. I mean, little guy out there playing D. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's no wrong answers here.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I was never a Barrett Jackman fan. That's why I did not include him. I thought he was the product of a bad Blues team, and they just kept pushing him. But I get why people liked him. Plus, from what I hear, he's a great dude if you've ever met him. I only met him in the locker room. I did not share that sentiment about him, but I know a lot of people do, including Jeremy Rutherford. So, yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick at all there, Austin.
Amy actually speaks with Jackman every once in a while, and she says, yes, he is a very nice man.
I'm sure he is. And I will say, one of my favorite moments in the media happened because of him. But Austin, we'll go ahead and let you bounce up out of here. Thanks for joining us for the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Sorry for dipping early, but things came up.
Yeah, you're old.
Yeah, I got past my bedtime.
Right.
All
right, man. We'll
All
catch you next time.
See ya. With as far as Jackman goes, I think that he would have had a much more notable career. I mean, he had a long career at the Blues, but I think it would have been more notable if he hadn't have had got that shoulder injury early in his career here. Really, I was actually speaking of Plager brothers, I was talking with Bobby Plager, and I've told the story before, but that we were talking about Jackman, and he was raving about his play, but he was very sad that his shoulder injury happened, and it made him not the same player he would have been. He would have been a much bigger checker, would have been more of a fighter, but he really toned that down when he had that shoulder injury, because if he taxed that shoulder too much, his career would have been over. So,
well, let's add in too the fact that yes, it was the shoulder injury from Todd Bertuzzi. Thanks for that, dickhead.
Mhm.
It was also the rule changes after the lockout. There was a lot. I mean, they cut down on interference a ton, and before that, you could get away with pretty much taking guys out of the play, drawing picks, and Jackman was great at that. There was a reason Al McInnes had a ridiculous year. That year he won the Norris, and vice versa for Jackman, because he played with McInnes all year. But he was so good at drawing attention away from McInnes, because McInnes would take the puck and carry it up, and Jackman would just step in front of somebody trying to get to McInnes. And he was so good at that. But after the 04-05 lockout, you couldn't do that kind of play anymore. So a lot of the stuff that Jackman did very well, even though he had the shoulder injury, was pretty much not acceptable anymore. So your 3 picks, Stevens, Jay Bomeister, and Barrett Jackman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, I'm a big, huge Stevens fan. And like I said, I think I already covered this, but he was stolen from us, and I still feel like that's who knows what would have happened if we had Stevens and Shanahan on the same team. That would have been pretty Hall, Shanahan, Stevens. Jesus, I mean, and Bomeister, for reasons I already said, I put him on there, and then Jackman for again, I've covered that as well. Just his longevity with the Blues. I was always a Jackman fan, even though his middle years here were kind of rough. He was kind of a whipping boy. I don't know if fans remember that too much, but he was not having his best years. Wasn't the greatest defenseman. Finished better, finished stronger, I think, and
He
then
did.
had that cup of coffee that one season with Nashville, which was weird.
Yeah, but honestly, I thought his last excuse me, I thought his last year here was a little rough for him. And I think that was the point where it was kind of like, I don't know if you're watching the latest season of Ted Lasso, but Roy Kent makes a comment about how he has a game. It was like one of his last games with his last team. And he's like, that was when it hit me that I just was not, I was on the decline. I was no longer in my prime. And I felt like I could feel that for Jackman in his last season with the Blues. Dude, you might want to consider it might be the end of the road for you. Credit where credit's given. Dude battled, played through whatever adversity he was facing internally, went on and played for Nashville. Good for him. Got another NHL contract. I think he ended up getting bought out. I think he signed a 2-year deal with them. They bought him out after the first year, and that's when he was done. Came back with the Blues. He signed a 1-day contract, whatever. But still, a true blue, still in the St. Louis area.
13 years here.
Yeah.
Long time.
So as much as I say I was not a fan of his here as a St. Louis Blue, he is a Blue. And I'm happy to call him a St. Louis Blue, and I'm glad he's still here. So other players considered. So again, we mentioned a couple of these guys, but these were all guys that got at least one vote from our panel. Paul Cavallini, Jack Brownscheidel, Bob Gassoff, Barrett Jackman, Al Arbor, Noel Picard, Carl Gunnarsson, and Scott Stevens. Gassoff, Stevens, and Jackman made it to the final 6. They were included in the Twitter polls. And then we also actually had, before we made it to the Twitter polls, we had to have a tiebreaker vote for the last spot between Stevens, Cavallini, and Gunnarsson. And obviously Stevens won that. So it got pretty close. There was a lot of, this was a pretty close vote. I mean, I know I've been telling you, Kurt, about there's a little craziness going on with the left wing vote right now. But lefty, this got pretty tight as it came down to the wire. So Stevens pulls it out.
I wanted to put Cavallini in higher than I did, but I because I loved Paul Cavallini as a player.
Too.
He was just a fun guy to watch play, and he had a fun last name to say.
Yep.
In fact, his brother played on the team with him, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
And Cavallini, and it was neat seeing Cavallini at Center Ice Brewery's grand opening, along with some other former Blues players. That was kind of cool. Hey, Cavallini, you're still around. You're still alive. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I was actually surprised to see how many votes Carl Gunnarsson got. Again, it came down to a tiebreaker vote.
Yeah.
Excuse me, between Stevens, Cavallini, and Gunnarsson. And for those wondering how the tiebreaker, just full clarity here, transparency. Tiebreaker vote, when it comes down to a tie, I bring it up to the Let's Go Blues radio crew. So all 4 of us, we get one more vote, say, okay, who belongs? And it's between those 3. Gunnarsson came pretty damn close. It was Stevens that pulled it out at the end. I think me and you and Bill voted for Stevens, and Austin was the only one that voted for Gunnarsson. But he almost made it, and I'm like, you got to think again. Not that he had a bad career here. There were a couple years there where I think he was played a little injured. But 2019, game 1, game-winning goal, that moment, one of the greatest moments in Blues history, because of the quote that we heard afterward.
Yes, the story.
Makes a great story. Like, you got to think that had to be part of it with some of these people who are making these votes.
Oh, it's the story. It's the goal. If he doesn't have that story and score that goal, even if the Blues do go on to win that game in overtime and somebody else gets the first game-winning goal in final history for the Blues, I don't think Gunnarsson makes this list at all. He needed that moment to, because it's so special to people, and I get it. But yeah, it took, because Gunnarsson was a serviceable guy. He was okay. I don't think his play warranted making any all-time list. But yeah, like I said, he does have that moment which is huge. So, and recency bias too with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to figure. I mean that, yeah, and obviously, if the revamped version of Jeremy Rutherford's book, the 99 Things You Should Know and Do Before You Die as a Blues Fan, he threw that story in the Stanley Cup edition, just because it's like that is a story they'll still be telling if you're a Blues fan in 50 years. You're still going to hear that story.
It's a great story. It's fantastic,
Yep.
and it just shows how much that resonates with people by where they want him on the Blues all-time list. So
beautiful quote here from Divide by Zero: "Careers are made in moments."
Yeah, I mean that's
100%.
Yeah, some players have more moments than others, right?
Yep. Well, so that does it. So again, Chris Pronger, Jay Bomeister, and Barclay Plager are your left D. So next week we will reveal the right D. I think you can make some pretty good assumptions on who's on that team or on that side of the D, but we will reveal those next week. Tomorrow we will have our first left wing poll. So that should be revealed sometime, probably midday. Again, it's going to be on Twitter, but if you're just on Facebook, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. We will post a link to the Twitter poll, and if you comment on the Facebook post there, that will count towards the prize giveaway, which again, if you're tuning in just now, the giveaway next week, a signed Colton Parayko puck. So it is actually a real giveaway, folks. This isn't something stupid. And it's real. It will go out to somebody. I think there's some Twitter people out there who like to say they have giveaways and then don't actually give them away, but we'll see. I don't know if that's true or not. Just an assumption. So again, comment why you voted the way you did or why you didn't vote for someone, and you could have your comment featured on the show as we featured Ken's, a couple of Ken's tonight. And there were a lot on the right D, so it's going to be hard tearing down which one we want to, which few posts we want to show. But remember, you could win a prize if you comment, so keep that coming. Kurt, any closing thoughts on our left defense for the all-time team?
No. I have to accept the results that are in front of me. But yeah, no, it's good. I like it. We'll see. You said right D is next, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know for a fact that Stephen Ground from Two Guys One Cup wants to come on for that one.
Who?
Think Jason, some guy, some terrible
guy?
podcast that doesn't it shouldn't even
ankle
exist.
An ankle biter? Is it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, some podcast that's not Let's Go Blues Radio.
I'm just fucking around.
Nah, he gets it. He gets it. And then some other podcast that nobody cares about. St. Louis, it's a Blues Hockey Podcast. Jason Martin said he may come on as well. So I don't know if we'll do it live. We'll see. I enjoyed doing this live, actually.
Yeah.
So it would be fun to do it because then we get these comments from the fans here, which has been awesome.
Yeah, I love the interaction. It's good stuff.
Me too. So we'll see. But if not, expect the same time next week, 9:15 on Wednesday, when we'll reveal the video if it is pre-recorded, and then podcast the next day as usual. Lawrence Frazier, which, by the way, I saw Lawrence. Right now he says, great show, guys, as usual. Really enjoyed it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I saw Lawrence Frazier actually commented at like 3:00 earlier today. Did you see that?
No,
he commented in the
so.
YouTube live chat
Oh, no.
and just listed like all the best left-handed defensemen for the Blues. And I was like, that guy gets it.
Awesome.
And Divide by Zero says, yep, another amazing show. I appreciate it, guys. You guys are awesome. Why we do it. Appreciate it. Well, if you have nothing else to add, Kurt, we will close her up. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by ID Life. Excuse me, too much beer. The world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA. Visit rockinthatidlife.com. That is rockinthatidlife.com for more information. And you can get 10% off by emailing Dustin at rockinthatidlife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. And by Mike Burgoyne from Real Brokerage Realty. Visit strikewithmike.com today for all your home buying and selling needs. That's strikewithmike.com. And by Center Ice Brewery, St. Louis's tasty hockey-themed beer. Check out your local beer vendors for availability. That's Center Ice Brewery beer. Please drink responsibly. That wraps up episode 4 of season 12 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast. Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. For producer Austin, Kurt Price, and Bill Day, I'm Jeff Ponder. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
Let's go Cardinals. Brewers suck.
Yeah, they do.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
You thought I was going to say, son of a bitch, didn't you?